My sister cut my brakes and Mom let her. I almost died. Then uncovered, Mom helped cover up Dad's disappearance too. Now they're both exposed, and I made sure everyone saw the truth. My mom told me once, straight to my face, that every time she looked at me, she saw the man who ruined her life. Not because I did anything, not because I was difficult or mean or failing at school. Number it was because I had his eyes, his dimples, his laugh. And unlike my sister Delaney, who looked like a Barbie clone of my mom, I was just the mistake she couldn't legally return. My name's Emery. I'm 17, and I grew up in a 2-bedroom house in Idaho with my mom and my older sister. Delaney's 18. Tall, blonde, flawless. Captain of the cheer squad, social media perfect, and loved by literally everyone. Even strangers stopped to compliment her. I can't count how many times people looked between the two of us and said, "Wait, you're sisters?" Delaney would always giggle like it was funny, like it didn't rip something inside me every time. The truth is, I wasn't just ignored. I was erased. Birthdays? Delaney got parties with custom cakes and balloon walls. I got store-brand cupcakes and a sorry. Work ran late. She had designer clothes and personalized jewelry. I wore hand-me-downs and was told to be grateful. But the worst part wasn't the favoritism. It was the gaslighting. Anytime I questioned it, Mom would say, "You're just sensitive. I love you both equally." And Delaney? She'd smile, tilt her head, and go, "You know Mom doesn't mean it like that." Except I knew exactly what they meant. Things only got worse when I hit high school. I'd always been quiet, a bit of a bookworm. But sophomore year, something shifted. I started taking photography classes, and for the first time, I felt seen. I even got accepted into this summer workshop at a state university. It was a big deal. Only 10 students across the county got in, but I never made it to the program. Because Mom intercepted the letter, shredded it, and told me, "You think I'm going to let you run off and leave your sister here to clean up your messes?" I didn't even know what she meant. I didn't make messes. I cleaned them up. I stayed quiet, followed rules, got straight A's. Meanwhile, Delaney was skipping class to meet guys and throwing tantrums if her lip gloss shade wasn't in stock. Still, I stayed. I tried. I kept hoping something would shift. And for a moment, I thought it had. When I met Kai, he was in my English class. Brown curls, shy smile, always doodling in the margins of his notebook. He asked me to coffee after I gave a presentation on Sylvia Plath. And for once, someone chose me. Not Delaney. Not my mom. Me. Kai made me feel real. Like maybe I wasn't broken. We started dating, quietly. I didn't tell my mom, obviously. And I sure as hell didn't tell Delaney. But secrets don't stay secrets long in my house. I don't even know how she found out. Maybe she saw us at the library. Maybe Kai said something by accident. All I know is, 2 weeks after Kai and I started seeing each other, he stopped texting back. When I finally cornered him at school, he looked confused. "Hey, didn't you say we should take a break?" he asked. My stomach dropped. I hadn't. Delaney had taken my phone while I was in the shower. She texted him pretending to be me, told him I was mentally unstable and needed space. Then she sent him a picture of herself in my sweatshirt and wrote, "Maybe you'd rather spend time with the upgraded version anyway." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked home in a daze, shaking with this quiet, boiling rage that settled deep in my bones. That night, I confronted Delaney. She didn't deny it. She just looked at me with this smug smile and said, "He was out of your league anyway." And my mom? She grounded me for invading Delaney's privacy by reading my own stolen messages. I started documenting everything after that. Screenshots, notes, even voice memos. Not because I thought it would change anything, but because I needed proof. I needed something to keep me sane. And I'm glad I did. Because a week later, the brakes on my e-bike failed while I was riding down the hill near Ridgeview Street. I barely swerved into a bush before I hit a stop sign at the bottom. My leg was bruised. My arms were bleeding. And when I got home, Delaney was in the kitchen, humming, wiping grease off her hands. When she saw me limping, she smiled. That's when I knew. And that's when I started planning. My legs were still shaking when I stepped into the house. Delaney was at the stove, humming softly, wiping grease off her palms like she'd just finished frying something. She turned, saw the blood on my arms, the dirt smeared down my jeans, and blinked once. No gasp, no concern, just that same smug little smile curling at the edge of her lips. "You should really be more careful," she said, voice light, almost sing-song. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My chest felt tight. My brain was fogged with panic and something else, something sharper. Rage. I limped past her and straight to my room. I locked the door, sat on the floor, pulled out my phone, and took pictures of every bruise, every scrape. My helmet was cracked. My palms were raw. I even snapped a photo of the busted brake cable hanging from the handlebars just in case. Then I texted my mom. I knew she was at work, so I didn't expect an immediate reply. But I sent her everything. The photos, the location, a message that said, "Mom, I almost died today. I think Delaney cut my brakes." 2 hours passed. Nothing. Then just after 5:30, the front door slammed open and I heard her voice. Not angry, not panicked, just annoyed. I opened my door a crack. She was in the kitchen, coat still on, glaring at me while Delaney stood next to her, pretending to look scared. "Emery," Mom said coldly, "you're grounded. Grounded for almost dying." "I told you she'd twist it," Delaney whimpered. "I didn't do anything, Mom, I swear. She's just trying to make me look bad again." "I have photos," I snapped. "I have proof." My mom didn't even blink. "Enough," she said. "I won't let you turn this house into a war zone. Go to your room. I don't want to hear another word." She never asked to see the evidence. She never even checked the bike. That night, I packed a bag. Just a hoodie, some clothes, my charger, and the little stack of journals I'd been using to document everything. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't sleep under the same roof as them anymore. At 2 a.m., I climbed out the window and walked a mile and a half in the dark to the one place I thought might still be safe. My grandpa's house. He hadn't spoken to my mom in years. They had some huge falling out before I was old enough to understand it, and ever since, he was off limits. But I remembered how he used to slip me candy behind Mom's back, how he told me stories about my dad when no one else would. He opened the door, saw me standing there with blood on my knees and fear in my eyes, and didn't say a word. Just wrapped his arms around me and pulled me inside. For the first time in what felt like forever, I slept through the night. The next morning, he made pancakes. Real ones, not the protein crap my mom used to force down my throat, and asked if I wanted to talk. So I did. I told him everything, from the favoritism to Kai, to the shredded scholarship letter, to the bike. He listened quietly. When I finished, he nodded slowly and said, "I think it's time you saw something." He led me down to the basement. It was cluttered and dim, with boxes stacked everywhere. He pulled one out labeled David 2005 to 2007. My dad's name. Inside were papers, newspaper clippings, and a journal. I picked up one of the articles. The headline read, "Man missing after car mysteriously crashes into river." I frowned. I thought Dad died in a work accident. My grandpa shook his head. "That's what your mom told you, but it wasn't true. He went missing. No body was ever recovered." He handed me the journal. This was his. I flipped through it. Pages of cramped handwriting, but one entry stopped me cold. "Delaney's getting worse. She bit Emery yesterday. Brooke says she's just spirited. But I'm worried. She started copying everything Brooke does. She even calls Emery the unwanted one. I'm starting to think, maybe I'm not safe here." I read it twice. My ears were ringing. "Wait, are you saying Dad didn't just vanish?" My grandpa gave me a look I'll never forget. "I'm saying, Emery, your mom might have had more reasons than heartbreak to want him gone." I couldn't breathe. And then my phone buzzed. "Unknown number?" The message said, "Found you. Miss me yet?" It was from Delaney. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until Grandpa gently took the phone from my hand. "She knows where you are," he said, frowning. That shouldn't be possible. The text still glowed on the screen. "Found you. Miss me yet?" There was no name, just a number I didn't recognize. But I didn't have to. I knew that tone, that smugness, that threat hidden behind 5 words. Delaney. I felt cold all over. My heart was racing, but my limbs had gone numb. I didn't tell anyone where I went. I whispered. Not even Kai. "She must have tracked your location somehow," Grandpa said. "Maybe through your mom's phone, or a shared app." I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and started checking every setting. Find my iPhone, Snapchat location, Life 360, all disabled. And that's when I remembered something. Last Christmas, Delaney had given me a keychain. A sister thing, she said, with a cheap plastic charm that said, "Big pain, little package." I'd rolled my eyes but kept it clipped to my backpack. I ran upstairs and found the keychain buried in the side pocket. Popped it open. Inside was a tiny silver disc, no bigger than a penny. I Googled the serial number, AirTag. My sister had been tracking me for months. When I showed it to Grandpa, he didn't say anything. Just walked over to his fireplace, tossed the device in, and lit the fire. We both stood there, watching it crackle and melt into nothing. "You're staying with me from now on," he said firmly. "No more sneaking around. No more pretending." I nodded, but deep down, I knew this wouldn't stop her. Delaney didn't do boundaries. She didn't do consequences. Later that night, while Grandpa was making dinner, I locked myself in the study and read more of my dad's journal. The entries grew darker. He talked about Mom snapping when she didn't get her way, about waking up with scratches he didn't remember getting, about Delaney watching him sleep. But then I hit the last entry. Just a line, scribbled fast like he was in a hurry. "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident. Check the crawl space in the garage, behind the tool shelf." I froze. It took everything I had not to scream. When Grandpa saw my face, he didn't ask questions. He just handed me a flashlight and led me to the garage. The crawl space was dusty and cold. We pulled back the tool shelf, revealing a low wooden door. Inside was a lockbox, rusted and heavy. We cracked it open together. Inside was a flash drive, 2 Polaroids, and a letter addressed to me. The photos made me sick. The first was of Delaney, maybe 6 years old, standing over a neighbor's dead cat, holding a pair of scissors, smiling. The second was a picture of my dad's car, before the accident. The brake lines were clearly slashed. The letter was short. "Emery, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it out. Your mother's more dangerous than she seems, and Delaney, she's learned too much from her. Protect yourself. Tell someone you trust. Don't go back." My hands were trembling so badly I dropped the letter. Grandpa picked it up, face pale. "You need to get out of here," he said. "You need to go to the police." And then the window shattered. We both ducked as glass rained down around us. Something clattered to the floor. It was a rock. Taped to it was a note in messy handwriting. "You should have burned the whole box." We stared at it in silence. That wasn't Delaney's handwriting. It was Mom's. When that rock crashed through the window, it didn't just shatter glass. It shattered every last illusion I had left about my mother. I stared at the note. My hands were shaking. My breath came in sharp, shallow gulps. "You should have burned the whole box." It was her handwriting. I'd seen it on permission slips, on birthday cards she barely remembered to sign. That perfect cursive slant with the sharp R, no doubt. No denying it. She knew about the lockbox. She knew what was in it. Which meant she knew what she'd done. Grandpa didn't say a word. He just grabbed his phone and called the sheriff. While he was on the line, I quietly picked up the flash drive and slid it into my pocket. I didn't know what was on it yet, but if she was willing to send a message like that, it meant one thing. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. We spent the next few hours giving statements. The sheriff, to his credit, took us seriously, especially after Grandpa showed him the photos of the slashed brakes and the journal entries. They promised to send an officer by for protection and keep an eye on the property. I didn't feel safer. I felt cornered. And when you corner someone who's been hunted their entire life, they don't run. They bite. That night, while Grandpa slept in his recliner with a baseball bat beside him, I took Kai's old laptop and plugged in the flash drive. There were videos, dozens of them, dated, labeled. Most were from when Delaney and I were little. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Just random home footage. Birthday parties, school plays, family dinners. But then I noticed a pattern. Delaney always faced the camera. Mom always adjusted the lighting. She even directed the scenes like a movie. And I was always, barely there, blurred in the background, cut off, pushed out of frame. One clip made me stop breathing. I was maybe 8. Crying in the corner of the room with a broken crayon. Delaney had snapped it. I remembered that day clearly. But the camera caught Mom walking over, kneeling down, grabbing my chin, and whispering, "Stop crying. You ruin every photo." Then she turned to the camera and smiled. A perfect, composed, motherly smile. I clicked through the rest with a growing sickness in my chest. This wasn't parenting. This was curation. A warped version of motherhood made for optics, for attention, for control. She didn't want daughters. She wanted characters, and I wasn't playing the role she assigned me. When I finally shut the laptop, it was nearly 4 a.m. My head pounded, my stomach turned, but something inside me clicked into place. I was done surviving. It was time to expose her. I uploaded everything, the journal scans, the photos, a clip from the videos, to a cloud drive. Then I scheduled a full drop to go public if I didn't log in again within 48 hours. I sent the link to 2 people I trusted, Kai and Aunt Lorna, my dad's sister in Oregon. Then I made one last move. I texted Mom, "Meet me at Dad's old storage unit. No cameras, just us." She replied in under a minute. Finally. I didn't tell Grandpa. He would have tried to stop me, but I wasn't walking in blind. I had the sheriff's deputy waiting in an unmarked car down the block. I had a mic hidden in my jacket. And I had something Mom didn't know I'd found. Dad's old voice recorder. I'd tucked it in the lining of the storage unit the night before. I got there 10 minutes early. The air was sharp. Quiet. Then I heard her heels. She walked in like it was a reunion. Hair curled, lipstick perfect. "You look so much like him when you're angry," she said. I didn't answer. I just hit record. She smiled. "So, you've been digging. I figured you would. I always knew you were the curious one." I stepped closer. "Why?" Her smile dropped. "You want the truth?" she whispered. "Because he was going to take you and leave me with her. That creature. I had no choice." I froze. "Her?" She tilted her head. "Delaney, you think she's dangerous?" "You don't know the half of it." I tried to keep her calm. I tried to keep him quiet, but he wouldn't listen. He was going to tell people. My blood ran cold. "You're not protecting Delaney," I said slowly. "You're afraid of her." She didn't answer, just looked me dead in the eyes and said, "He was right. You need to run." And then from the back of the storage unit, Delaney stepped out, holding the exact same knife Dad used to carry. Delaney stood in the doorway, blade glinting under the flickering storage light. I didn't move, didn't flinch. My heart pounded like it was trying to break out of my chest, but I held her gaze. "Put it down," I said, my voice low. "It's over." She stepped closer. "You should have stayed gone," she whispered. "You ruined everything. Mom and I were fine before you started digging." Mom didn't say a word. She just stared at the knife, her body tense, jaw locked like she couldn't breathe. That's when I realized something. She wasn't afraid for Delaney. She was afraid of her. Delaney raised the knife slightly, and I instinctively stepped back. My heel tapped the edge of the metal shelving behind me. I had nowhere to go. Then I said the one thing that made her stop in her tracks. "I already sent everything." She froze. "The videos, the journal, the photos. It's all online. If I don't check in within an hour, it goes public. Names, faces, everything." Delaney's jaw clenched. Her hand trembled. "You're lying." I pulled out my phone and showed her the cloud link. "You want to test me?" A full minute passed in silence. Her breath quickened. Her eyes darted toward Mom, then back at me. She wasn't used to losing control. Then, suddenly, she laughed. "Fine. You win," she said, stepping back. For a second, I believed her. Until she lunged, everything blurred. I dodged barely, her knife slicing the air next to my ear. We crashed into the shelving unit. Metal clanged. Something fell. My elbow cracked against the concrete. Pain shot through me, but I didn't stop. I shoved her off. She scrambled back up, knife still in hand. And that's when the storage door slammed open. "Police, drop the weapon." Delaney spun around, startled, and that split second was all they needed. 2 officers tackled her to the ground. The knife clattered across the floor. She screamed and kicked, wild and unhinged, like an animal finally exposed. Mom stood frozen in the corner, pale, speechless. But when the officers turned to cuff her too, her knees gave out. She hit the ground hard and started sobbing. They read her rights as I sat in the corner, back against the cold metal wall, watching the entire scene unfold like I wasn't even real. They took both of them away that night. Turns out the recorder I planted caught everything. Her confession. The knife. Even the moment she whispered, I had no choice. Legally, she did. Morally, she didn't. Delaney was charged with attempted murder and several counts of stalking and harassment. After a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, she was committed to a secure mental facility indefinitely. She never spoke a word in court. Mom pled guilty to obstruction of justice and reckless endangerment. The videos showed enough. She knew Delaney was dangerous and still let it happen. She's serving a reduced sentence as part of a plea deal, but I don't think she'll ever walk out the same. The media dubbed it the Mirror Family Case. Every time I hear it, I feel like I'm watching someone else's life. But it's mine. Grandpa got custody of me. Kai's parents let me stay with them during the trial. I finished senior year under a different last name and started community college last fall. I'm studying psychology because I want to understand how people get broken like that and how we stop it before it spreads. I still have the flash drive. Sometimes I think about deleting it, letting it all burn, but not yet. Maybe one day. For now, it stays in my drawer right next to a sticky note that says, "You are not her shadow." Because I'm not. I'm Emery. I survived. And I am finally free.